Have you ever wondered why there are so many languages on the earth? See, in today's reading, we will see the origin of different languages as well as the reason why it happened. Hi, I'm Pastor John Sonkert from Heights Christian Church, and what we are doing as a congregation is going through the Bible in 5 years. We invite you to join us wherever you are by subscribing to our YouTube channel. 6 days a week, we will take a small part of Scripture. We'll read a small part of Scripture and take just one thing from that portion to help us be more like Jesus. And then on Sunday, our services will be online on this very channel, and our sermon will be over the material we've read during the week. And so in today's reading, we'll read chapter 11 of Genesis. And in this section is the story of the Tower of Babel and also some more of Shem's descendants. Now, I know yesterday we read about the descendants of Shem, but this is going to take it out a little bit further, as you will see. And if you know anything about Bible times and all that, you'll see why they take it out so far. So anyway, let's get started with Genesis chapter 11. And now the whole earth had one language and one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, "Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of the earth, of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the earth. Excuse me. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. After he begot Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. Arphaxad lived 30 years and begot Salah. After he begot Salah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Salah lived 30 years and begot Eber. After he begot Eber, Salah lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and begot Peleg. And after he begot Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and begot sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. After he begot Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and begot sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and begot Serug. After he begot Serug, Reu lived 207 years and begot sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And after he begot Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and begot sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. And after he begot Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And this is the genealogy of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in his native land in Ur of the Chaldeans. Then Abram and Nahor took wives in the name of Abram's, and the name of Abram's wife was Sarai. The name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terah took his son Abram and his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and they went out with them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to Haran and dwelt there. So the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Excuse me. And so we see here not only the descendants of Shem was carried all the way out to Abram, who later became Abraham, and his wife Sarai, who later became Sarah, who are the patriarchs of the Israel nation. And also what I want to show you is where Shinar is. Yes, I have a map. You see in the middle of the page there, I tried to center it, right below Babylon is Shinar. And right above Joktan, the word Joktan there, you see Shinar. And that is about the area where they did the Tower of Babel. And so I just wanted to show that to you real quick. And so this is the area that had happened. But as we saw in the beginning of the chapter, the whole earth had one language and one speech. And the Lord came down and saw what they were doing and decided to confuse their language. In other words, God caused them to know and understand a different language immediately. They couldn't understand what they used to understand. And that's so they couldn't plot together to do what they were doing. One person put it like this in a commentary, quote, "This is an open rebellion against God, an independence of God. Humility is often equated with trust and obedience, and conversely, pride is related to independence and disobedience. Here the people came together to strengthen themselves and in pride make a reputation for themselves, lest they be scattered over the face of the whole earth." End quote. You see, humility being equated with trust and obedience. And Jesus Christ set the example for humility, and that's what we're going to look at today. Along with his ministry and teaching his disciples, Christ often told his disciples to love one another. And as a great example of his attitude of being humble, Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. And so let's take a look at that real quick. In John chapter 13, verses 1 through 15. "Now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come, that he should depart from this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And supper being ended, the devil having already put it in the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, rose from supper, laid aside his garments, took a towel, and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel which he was girded. Then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said to him, Lord, are you washing my feet? And Jesus answered and said to him, What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will know after this. Peter said to him, You shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered him, If I do not wash you, you have no part with me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. A little overboard. Jesus said to him, He who is bathed need only to wash his feet, but is completely clean, and you are clean, but not all of you. For he knew who would betray him, therefore he said, You are not all clean. So when he washed their feet, taking his garments, and sat down again, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you say, Well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought also to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example, that you should do as I have done to you. There's not much more humility than that, than to wash someone else's feet. The example of Jesus Christ shows the kind of love that we should have for one another. Later in John chapter 13, Jesus gives a new command to his disciples. And it is this, in verses 34 and 35, he says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you. That you also, as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this, all will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." You see, as believers, we are called to love one another. And when we love one another, we are humble when it comes to correcting each other and when receiving correction. Now, none of us are perfect, but if we remain humble and teachable and have love for one another, we will seek to obey God's commands and His direction for our life. And I hope you got something out of today's devotional, and I hope to see you in church tomorrow.